I was about to jump on a Zoom call with the client to go over their QuickBooks online cleanup that I had just completed. I took one last look at the financials, and to my surprise, everything had changed. I was in a panic. What happened? Why does everything look different? The financials that I had spent days cleaning up had been changed, and now I was about to get on a call with a client who, by the way, intimidated me to tell them that I had to do their cleanup again. Hi, I'm Veronica Wasek, the unstoppable introvert and founder of 5MB Academy, where I help bookkeepers to build confidence and profitable services through diagnostics and cleanups. This video is a story about the cleanup that I had to do twice and the difficult conversation that I had to have with a client who intimidated me to tell them that I was going to have to do their cleanup all over again. The first cleanup. This was one of my first QuickBooks online cleanups. In a previous video, I told you about how I was doing cleanups of QuickBooks desktop files. But now I was cleaning up QuickBooks Online. It was still fairly new and it was constantly changing at that time, so it was a bit challenging to keep up with it. But I landed this client that was very excited to work with them, and there was a lot to clean up. Bank reconciliations, undeposited funds, accounts receivable, uncategorized expenses. There was a lot going on, and it took me quite a bit to complete the cleanup. Then came the surprise. So as I said, I completed the cleanup. The financials were beautiful. I was so proud of myself. I made sure to review the financials, make sure everything looked great, and I booked the call with the client. Took one last look and I realized that, oh my gosh, everything changed. What happened? So I took a look at the audit trail. It saw that one of the client's employees had gone in and made some changes to the financials. In fact, quite a lot of changes. I was just so frustrated. I was really beside myself because I had put in all of this effort, and all of a sudden, just overnight, it seemed like it was all gone. And then I realized I have to talk to my client and tell them what happened. So the challenge was now that I have to tell the client what happened. Thankfully, it wasn't my fault, but still, I knew they would be upset, especially an employee going in there and changing things. That wasn't fun. And on top of that, I was fairly intimidated by this client. He was a doctor, a medical doctor, and I would refer to him as Dr. Smith. His name was John Smith. And so I would call him, yes, Dr. Smith, no, Dr. Smith. And as I said, he intimidated me. And I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to handle this conversation? So thankfully, it's not my fault, but I have to tell him what happened. So I decided to just give him the facts, just tell him exactly what happened. And so when the time for the call came, I just told him that, hey, I completed the cleanup, and then someone on your team went in and made some changes. And so now I'm going to have to do the cleanup again. And another thing that I did was to take out the emotion and to really treat the client as another business owner. So rather than calling him Dr. Smith, I just said, John, I have to do the cleanup again, and I'm going to have to charge you for it. So then there was silence. And I'm just wondering, okay, is he mad? What is he going to say? Is he going to fire me? I don't know. And he just said, okay. Send your engagement letter over, and we'll do the cleanup again. I was very pleasantly surprised. That was his reaction. But at the same time, I felt like we'd had a good professional conversation. I laid out the facts, gave him the plan for getting everything cleaned up again, and we just moved forward with that. And then the outcome. So I completed the second cleanup, had the call with the client, show them their new cleaned up financials, and then gave the client the proposal for monthly services. And guess what? They signed up for monthly services. And actually, they were a client for a very long time. They were a very profitable client. And I had a very respectful and professional relationship with the client after that. They no longer intimidated me. I could look at them in the eye and have a confident conversation with him because I treated them as another business owner rather than putting them on a pedestal or feeling like they were better than me or that they intimidated me. The lessons. I learned several things from this situation. Number one was to leave emotion out of business conversations. I think that sometimes we bring in a lot of emotion into those difficult conversations, and the best thing to do is to leave the emotions out. Just treat it as a business conversation. I learned to have confidence in my abilities also, that, hey, if I can clean up their QuickBooks file the first time, I can do it again the second time. And I also learned that I needed to be compensated for my expertise and my effort. And so for me, there was no question in my mind that I needed to charge for that cleanup again. I was not going to do it for free, and especially because it was not my fault. So let me know in the comments, have you worked with intimidating clients? And if so, I'd love to hear what happened. And have you worked on any cleanups that you've had to do twice? I'd love to get your feedback in the comments. I read all of your comments. And here's a free resource for you. Learn how I review my clients' books in just 15 minutes using the Smart Review checklist. I'll link that for you in the description below. And remember, if this introvert can do it, then you can do it too. I'll see you next time.